Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
And I'm your friend.
Yeah, I'm your friend. No, you're not.
That's true. You saw through my ruse.
Yeah. It was a pretty flimsy one at that. Yeah. But,
that's a, what if like the hitman agent, like 47 or whatever got just immediately gave up on his disguise.
There's just the one guy that says, hey, you're not a caterer. And he's like, fuck.
He's pretending to be like some dude's bodyguard. Like, I've never seen you here before. Oh, you fucking got me. Damn it. I told you they would see through this shit.
Some guy's just kidding with him. It's like, hey kid, this looks like your first day. Are you sure you're really
Those games always confuse me because it's like they always try to play it off like he blends in, disappears. It's like a barcode on the back of some dude's head is really noticeable.
Yeah, I mean, especially when he's bald as shit.
That's the thing. Like, you would have a full like dialogue with him. He would walk away. You would not be able to stop yourself from audibly being like, "What the fuck? Is that a barcode?"
Yeah. Or at least think like, "Oh man, that's a." Because if I see a tattoo like that, I'm like, "Oh, that guy's probably a douche." And then when suddenly you see the valet also, and you notice the barcode, you're like, "That guy's a douche." Wait a minute, like,
and then he throws a coconut at your head with perfect precision.
I think literally everybody in every level of that game knows exactly who he is, but they know that if they even let on that they're onto him, he'll just murder them. Yeah. So they're like, yeah,
that's true.
Good games. I just saw that on Games Pass, one of them, and I thought I might have to check that out.
The last 3 Hitman games, like they've kind of all jumbled them together as like one package.
Yeah, because they were all kind of episodic anyway. Like,
yeah, it started as an episodic thing, and then they just got away from that, and then there was a stretch where the games were only on the Epic Store, and that was weird. But they're all fantastic. Just like, they thought of every way you could want to kill a man.
And they're just,
exploding and golf ball.
And it's kind of that sandboxy thing too, where like if you want to take it seriously and play the game and try to do good, it's fun and it's challenging. It's puzzle solving and that kind of stuff. But if you also are like, I want to see if I can kill this person with a carrot.
Well, the best way to play that game, I think, is to essentially spin a wheel for how you're going to kill the target and what are you going to be wearing when you do. So, like the Giant Bomb guys back in the day, before whatever that site is now, they would draw shit out of a hat, and it would be like, you got to kill somebody at the very top of this tower with a fire axe, dressed as like the Sheik, and it's like really fucking hard to combine all those elements,
right?
But it rules. Yeah,
so I noticed that because we're a video game podcast again, short for a minute. I was like, I'm gonna download Life of Pi because Life of Pi, the movie. I watched Indian.
Yeah,
Lies of P.
I played a little of that.
Yeah, I was like, I want to check it out, but I was kind of testing this new laptop. I'm like, that's a new-ish game. It's not like a Starfield that's like really pushing the envelope, but I mean, it's a new game, and it's not a budget game.
It doesn't look bad, no.
No, and I'll say now I can't run it on like high settings, but it runs flawlessly on the laptop, so I was pretty, happy about that. And I'm digging it because it's like the Souls kind of clone that feels like they really actually understood what made Souls games Soul. And then it's such a weird, unique, I would have never thought of, but it works so fucking well. Like premise and like
Bloodborne Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm digging it so far. I'm not super far into it. I think I'm
not that far into it, but I'm stuck. I don't really know where to go from where I'm at, so I haven't played it.
Well, then you're probably farther than me because I have not had
this is like the second area. I'm not too far into it.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a time and place to talk about video games, and it's when I actually play them.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Which I don't do very often.
Yeah, you were the ones still playing games, and now. Now I've stolen your gaming mojo.
Yeah, I hit 30 and the light in my eyes died. Now I want to sleep. That's the real video game. When can you squeeze in a nice 20-minute nap under your desk at work?
Yeah. Oh God, that would be fantastic. That would solve 90% of my problems if I could get a nap at work.
Like where I work is cool, and they give you like wellness days and stuff. So, like 3 of your sick days, you can use them as just like mental health. Like I can't go and I need to take a moment.
I need a break.
Yeah. And that's really cool. But I also want like, like an emergency, like break glass for like a do not disturb 1 hour.
Yeah, you get a
sign.
hammock. Yeah, a hammock unfolds and you put a sign on the door. And
yeah.
That's what, and not that this is a bitch about, real life work podcast either, but my whole industry is so
fucking
insane
cool
right now. Yeah. Ooh, it's rad, dude.
Sick. They're going to make a reality show about it.
And it's not just that it's busy, but what's really like melting every last like cell I have in my brain is that everything's a complicated problem, but it's all coming in at once. So like you get one thing and you start working on it for about 30 seconds. And then there's another call that comes in that it's a completely different pain in the ass problem. And you have to switch gears back and forth. And like, it's not multitasking. It's like retasking and going back. It's like you just can't fucking do it. Like,
do you have a mouse over there? I hear something squeaking.
No, it's probably this capo for my guitar that I'm playing with.
You sure?
But it could be a pet mouse.
Are you sure it's not a Ratatouille thing where you have a mouse pulling your hair to do the podcast?
Now I'm thinking, as sad as things could be, imagine if I needed external help in the form of a Ratatouille mouse to output way. The bare minimum of work that we put into this.
Fucking Ratatouille's really phoning it in because he just like pulls me up to like open creepypastas.
Right. But that also implies that I can't even do that on my own. Yeah. So that's a good segue though. I do have a creepypasta. I don't remember what the fuck it's about because I had it for last week and then Tara was super sick. And when you're super sick and there's 2 kids that neither of them wanted to go to bed either. And it's like, I could stay up here and let this person that's on the verge of puking at any given moment take care of 2 kids, or I could probably be considerate and reschedule.
Actual fucking family man.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, that gives me time to like in a whole nother week to come up with a time. No, I didn't do that.
That's fine. Right, so we're past that point. This is,
yeah,
we're all, everybody knows we've been dancing with the devil since we started this show. It's all on the downhill. The government's
That's
coming to shut
another good
us
segue because this story is called "Dancing with the Devil." So it's not. I don't know. I don't know why I said that. It's not even a joke. It's just a lie. I'm sorry, people.
I just get offline, I guess.
Yeah. We have given up any illusions to like putting hard like work and elbow grease into the like. If a topic falls in my lap, I'm happy to do it, but until some things calm down,
I'm bitter and resentful to do it. I want this show to be as easy as possible.
We had a good run there about 2 months ago where we had like 6 or 7 or 8.
And the fact that
took a lot out of us.
The fact that we did so well then makes me feel better about not doing well now. The show is, it's like life. It's just a series of ups and downs.
Mostly downs.
Speak for yourself. I'm living the high life. I'm gonna have Elon put some wires and shit into my brain.
Yeah, everybody's like, that's a dumb idea. It kills everybody. It's like, that's my point. Put them right on in there. Twist them around a little bit. See what that does.
There's better ways to like get put down.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I couldn't imagine like letting myself voluntarily die at the hands of Elon. Like I've got I need to be best. I've got a little bit of pride. I want somebody better than that to best me.
Yeah.
Like maybe Grimace from McDonald's or
like the cables and stuff, they would connect to like one of those fat brick AC adapters from like old Nintendos and shit.
You find out that's not even like, oh, is this what you use to recharge it? Like they're like, no, there's no battery. You have to stay plugged in.
Yeah. It's a series of extension cords.
Yeah, you now live within a 3-foot semicircle of this wall outlet. Hope there's no storms coming.
Yeah.
Anyway. Creepypasta week. This one's called Happy Sun Daycare by Chelsea.Adams.524. So just a few miles outside of town stood an old country house. It had been converted into a daycare where parents would drop off their kids for the day and pick them up in the evening, which is just double describing what the word daycare is. However, said daycare had been out of business for a few years. There was a sign posted in the front yard just a few feet from the house that read, Happy Sun Daycare, with a drawing of a cute-looking cartoony sun painted on it. In the fenced-in backyard stood playground equipment that had since fallen into disrepair and had begun to rust. A slide, a couple
good.
of... Right.
When you're a kid, you want that fear.
Yeah. Hey, they got to learn about tetanus sometime.
Yeah.
It had a slide, a couple of swing sets, some monkey bars, a merry-go-round.
Pikes. Rusted pikes.
Well, that's what they all are now.
Yeah.
I remember in elementary school, they put in new playground equipment, and we're like, yeah, there's new equipment. And it was literally just metal posts in the ground that you could, like, balance on.
Yeah.
It's like, those were the days. You fall and you impale your crotch, and you're taken out of the gene pool. Even if you survive, you're not procreating anymore, so...
We had our elementary school was weird. It had, like, the little kids' jungle gym and then, like, the big kids' jungle gym.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were finally old enough to play on the big one, we didn't do any of the, like, play shit on it.
You smoked cigarettes and had sex.
That would have been really weird for the 5th grade, but it's possible. But we would just, like, go to the highest point of it and jump off.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a thing that kids, I'm learning. Mine, as soon as they are able to stand, they want to fall off stuff or jump off stuff or just like fling themselves off stuff.
Yeah.
Lincoln will just roll off of stuff. And, sometimes it's fun. Sometimes she gets hurt and she starts crying. It's like, what did you think was going to happen? You
are learning about gravity every day, dear child.
So, yeah, it's not something you grow out of until later. And in the midterm, as you get older and bigger, you jump off of newer and higher stuff.
It's just weird that, like, there were, like, swings, and we would jump off the swings and stuff, which is also dangerous. But, like, we didn't want to play. We literally just wanted to, like, fuck up our ankles every day at recess. It was bizarre.
And the best part is teachers are like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, as long as they're not fighting.
And even if they are, if I don't see any weapons, we're good.
No. There's tons of weapons. Fucking rocks everywhere.
So anyway, slide, swings, monkey bars, and a merry-go-round were once covered in swarms of children as they ran and played outdoors. They had since become purchased for the local birds and squirrels. I like that they specified local birds. Out-of-town birds, they've got better places to visit. But the locals, they hang out there. Squirrels and were swarmed by ants rather than children. Apparently ants like swing sets that have fallen into disrepair.
You can find them when like they do that thing where, like, have you seen it where like people pour like molten silver and shit into like ant colonies?
Yeah.
You do that, you see like there's like a swing set and shit down there.
Yeah, and not like a miniature one that they built. Like they've carried an actual full-size human swing set. I had decided to write a report on the Happy Sun Daycare for the news blog I worked for. Sure, that was a fantastic site if you're just like, I'm going to write about a daycare.
Who are we to talk, though?
Yeah, that's true. I'm currently reading this per story from somebody else instead of contributing anything on my own.
Great topic, fucko.
Touche, good point. For one thing, several of the citizens today had gone to that daycare. I figured it might make for an interesting story to read about their experiences there, and if it affected their later life in any way.
Their relationships.
I hate to tell you this, nobody fucking remembers daycare. You're 3.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's the one place where you can, like, it's societally acceptable to just hand your baby to a stranger. Mm-hmm. And, like, yeah, you stay
because
here
basically, regardless of what happens to your kid, right, short of, like, physical harm.
Yeah.
And even that, they're remarkably resilient.
Look at this.
Or so I've been told. I mean, yeah. The other reason wasn't quite so innocent. There had always been concerned parents who would fret over leaving their child in someone else's care. See? That constant worry over how safe their sons and daughters were, especially with all the horror stories posted online about various daycare-related tragedies. So they're doing a hard-hitting expose on daycares by focusing on this one that's clearly been out of business for years.
It's a good plan.
Yeah, well, again, who are we to talk?
That's fair.
For my report, I decided I would interview both employees and people who had gone to the daycare as children. I wanted to get as many different points of view as possible. In this case, that's 2. So,
using this pie chart, you can see.
But that way it wouldn't seem too terribly biased. This fluff piece.
I want fair and balanced reporting on my piece of shit jungle gym.
Of course, I agreed not to use their real names for the sake of privacy.
This is really extreme. Like, you're not, like, fucking blowing up Watergate here.
I feel like, and I'm sure we'll get to it. I feel like at this point in the author's head, there was some tragic backstory behind this daycare that they forgot to allude to other than, like, I'm going through all these links to, like, I will blur out their faces when I ask them about their experiences at daycare when they were 3. Like, baby's first 60-minute piece, I guess. The first person I interviewed was a middle-aged woman who looked after the infants at the daycare. For the sake of her privacy, we'll just call her Margaret. I don't know. I added an extra E in there. Margaret. That's where I was kind of going with it. It's probably because I went to Margarita right the fuck now. Right. I need it. What was it like working at the daycare, I asked. She replied, "Oh, it wasn't anything too spectacular."
Great for this story.
Right. I was just about to say, that's when I inserted the music sting. Ba-ba-ba. Just your typical day of working with children, or babies in my case. That's
when you need that fucking guy from Dateline, Keith Morrison or whatever. He's just like, oh.
But it wasn't any.
Were they dead children? You know? Oh, no.
I see, I told her before I asked myself, why the fuck did I pick this piece?
It's like they just. I feel for this protagonist though, because it's like that's.
Oh,
that's how many times have we had those topics Where it's like, this will be good, and it's like, not much happened there.
Yeah, you feel like it's like they just assume every single daycare has a dark secret, and it's just now dawned on them in the middle of their project that, like, yeah, we were just a daycare, and it's like, oh shit.
There's a logical explanation for all that shit.
Did you maybe marry any of the babies? Any sacrifice? Anything? I see, I told her before I asked, have you had any problems while working there? Margaret shook her head. With the babies? Of course not. They could be fussy, but they weren't any trouble at all. The children
could be fussy, but I could beat them.
Yeah, their babies are weak. I won every single fight I ever had.
It's like prison.
That's the thing. It turns out he's investigating. Why do so many of these kids come out of this daycare with teardrop tattoos under their eye?
I felt a pillowcase with Tonka trucks. Just started wailing.
They could be fussy, but they weren't any trouble. The children were another story. They're harder to beat in a fight.
Yeah, they coordinate.
This piqued my interest, which was good, because I clearly had no particular angle here. Were the children that attended Happy Sun Daycare too much for the employees to handle? Or could it be that there were cases of abuse going on that have been kept secret until now? These are things I probably should have known before starting my...
This is a fucking Ghost Adventures episode. It's like, this is shit you say into that recording. Like, were you too much of a pussy? Or was there abuse?
So, yeah, the children were another story. Why might that be, I asked. Well, Margaret paused for a second as though she was apprehensive, even though she's the one that brought it up.
That is a horror story trope I don't get tired of, is the people who act shady as fuck. And like,
yeah, they clearly want to talk.
Forget I said anything about what I want to talk about desperately.
There were times when I heard muffled squealing. No, not squealing, screaming. Those are two similar things. At first, I thought it was just the children pretending to be scared, but the more I heard it, the more I realized those screams were real. That something was terrifying or possibly even hurting them. Now that you mention it, yeah, I think kids were getting murdered. I haven't thought much about it.
Yeah, we were a pretty normal daycare. A couple dead kids, you know.
Did you ever see any children get hurt? Margaret nodded. Yes, most of them were just the typical scrapes and bruises you'd expect to find on the child who fell while playing or who bumped his head while trying to show off to his or her friends. Jumping off of shit has been brought up. Some of them, though, seemed off to me. Every so often, I would see a child walk past me missing an arm or on the way to the nurse's office. And each time the child looked like he had been scratched or even bitten. Again, I hate to tell you that's extremely fucking common at daycare. Kids scratch and bite. They're little bitches. They haven't learned the rules of fighting yet.
Yeah. And they haven't developed the wisdom to break them appropriately.
Right. That's the thing that makes me mad when I say they haven't learned the rules of fighting. I need my opponent to know the rules of fighting so that they assume I'm going to follow them.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to follow them, but I need them to think I'm going to.
And I need my child to understand it's not enough to just scratch and bite. You need to know where to scratch and bite. And it might mean fucking biting, parts of the anatomy that you don't want to be around, but you're getting your ass kicked.
Thumbs to the eye sockets every time. They bump into you in the hallway, no questions. Thumbs to eye. Anyway. Children scratched or bitten? That would be cause for alarm for anyone. Except apparently the parents at the time, because this is all stuff that happened in the past.
You broke this story wide open. Too bad they all grew up.
Random apparently. But
kids roughhousing, more at 11.
I don't know. I very much am picturing that, like, elementary school, you're in 3rd grade, it's the first time they're doing just like a pretend to be a news reporter for a day, so you're just going through the steps that you just think is like investigative journalism.
Yeah.
Again, ironic for me to like laugh at that when I did the same thing when we were covering video games and I went to PAX.
Yeah, totally.
Doing interviews. Same type of deal there. It's just different context. Anyway, perhaps some wild animal had decided to make its home near the daycare, and curious children had gotten too close. Maybe a stray dog had wandered into the playground repeatedly over the course of some time, as it sounds like.
All right, that would actually be a good story. A daycare that just has a random dog that nobody can do anything about.
None of the adults ever see it because it hides from the adults. It only shows itself to children. Were there any animals? Oh, sorry.
I was going to just say, or they like the dog.
Yeah, well, so, that's the thing.
Mr. Muffin wouldn't do this. Who's a good Mr. Muffin?
Must have been poor Jimmy keeps getting like sent home and beaten by his abusive, like strict parents for causing problems at school. Who was this dog? We will not tolerate bad Muffin in this house. Were there any animals in the area? I decided to ask. Stray dogs, raccoons, perhaps a possum nest? I doubt it. Pets weren't allowed at the daycare, and traps were set up at night to keep any wildlife away. Though there might have been a dog roaming around the area. Margaret shook her head. I pointed out, perhaps it was the dog that had bitten those children. Oh, I only heard the dog. See, I love how this is written, because it's like, no, I doubt there was any animals. Although it might have been that one animal.
Now that you do mention it, we did keep a grizzly.
Do you think it was a grizzly? No.
No.
I brought that up.
Although there was one time where he...
where I watched him physically swallow a child over the course of 45 agonizing minutes. Oh, I only heard the dog, she told me. I'd never actually seen it, and all I heard were the occasional growl, snarl, or howl, you know.
I only heard dog sounds all the time.
The kind of sounds if you hear, you know, I only heard, you know, snarling, howling dogs around the children in the daycare. I never investigated to figure out where.
Fucking employee of the year, Marguerite.
So Margaret had only heard what sounded like a dog. I couldn't rule out the possibility that perhaps she had mistaken some noise she heard for that of a dog. Maybe she had heard some children that were only pretending to be dogs and mistook them for a real one. Or maybe you're thinking way too much about this. Maybe she had heard the wind and thought it was a howl. If that were the case, that would explain the scratches and bites she saw on the children. What? They lost me there with that line of reasoning. Maybe it was the wind. That would explain the scratches and bites.
Yeah. You've never had the wind just fuck you up?
Oh, I've had the wind fuck me up a lot. But I just, in this scenario, I'm not picturing it. If it wasn't too out of the realm of possibility that a child could have simply scratched his or her arm on a branch or on part of a fence by accident, so they sound like extremely minor scratches.
That's what I'm so confused though. Like,
it's like digging to the bottom of the
Yeah, is there like a thing going on here or not? Like, we're taking such a long way around.
I'll tell you, my kid has come home from daycare with much more severe, like, bumps and bruises that we've not asked this extent of questions about. You're just like, oh.
This is what happens when you find an old spooky building and decide you're going to investigate it. 9 times out of 10, no story.
Right.
Just a shitty building.
Yeah, that's the impression I'm getting, is that they desperately want there to be a story. There's not. But I just noticed I'm not even halfway through this thing yet, so I'm going to pick up the pace a bit.
Like hell you are.
Probably not, yeah. Still, I had to learn more about the daycare, with the possibility of a cover-up regarding a series of scratches. This is dog attacks. I figured that the... Yeah, right.
Is it a cover-up if nobody even
has
bothered
asked
to learn what's going on?
Yeah, no. To my knowledge, at this point in the story, nobody has said, "I think something's happening here. We got to get to the bottom of it." You literally just ask, "Did something happen here?" I figured the next person I should interview would be one of the former attendees. Perhaps one of them would have childhood memories that could potentially shed some light on what Margaret had mentioned.
Oh yeah, Margaret used to bite and scratch us all the time.
Knife fights. We were doing toddler knife fights. Teachers took bets on them. Big thing. It would have been
We used to do Russian roulette with Nerf guns.
Yeah. After doing some background checking, I managed to find a young man who went to Happy Sun Daycare when he was around 5 or 6. Let's just call him Scott. I found Scott working at a local butcher shop. I had to wait until his shift was over before I could start the interview. I don't know why you'd even mention that. Luckily, it wasn't too long of a wait, and it gave me some time to consider what to ask him. Which, again, is a step you should have taken prior to undertaking this assignment, but whatever.
I just figured I would go up to strangers and just shout, "What are you hiding?"
I don't know. That would be a pretty good series of TikToks.
Don't lie to me.
Because you would eventually find somebody that crumbles.
I'd be like, "Whoa, dude. Jesus.
I was joking.
You're going to prison."
Do you remember anything about Happy Sun? I want to do it in your, like, the accusatory. Do you remember anything about Happy Sun Daycare?
What the fuck happened to Happy Sun?
I know you know something. I know it was a long time ago for you, but perhaps you can recall something? Scott thought for a moment before replying. Not much. I was only 5, maybe 6, you stupid moron.
God damn it.
What the fuck?
This is 2 strikes right now.
I just worked all day, dude, and you're going to ask me about my daycare? I can remember just doing what kids do at that age. Play, finger paint, watch cartoons, that kind of stuff.
Attacked by dog.
Scratch and bite each other. I nodded. Were you a good kid?
What the fuck? Were you a good boy?
No, I murdered somebody. You're on to me. How did you know? For the most part, he admitted, occasionally I'd get into some trouble. Nothing too serious, though. Just your typical kind of fussiness, you know, not wanting to take naps, refusing veggies, that sort of thing.
Assassinations.
Running a legal gambling parlor out of the basement? I don't know. I see, I replied. Jotting it down in my notepad. I like to say that note that they wrote down, possible psychopath.
It's like when you're being if you're being psychoanalyzed, it's like, how many sandwiches a week do you eat? It's like, I don't know, maybe a couple.
Really? Okay.
Obsessed.
And then you just hear her mutter, "Oh dear." We're like, what the fuck? We assumed as much. Good. That was my assumption all along, Steve. It's like, wait, what? I wrote, and was the daycare fair in how they disciplined you? Somewhat. All I ever got was a scolding and the occasional timeout. Thrown in the pit of wild dogs. Pretty much
it should have been harsher.
Pretty much they made you sit in the corner for a few minutes until they felt you were ready to join the other kids. Though you were lucky if that's all you got, Scott pointed out. Yeah, they basically did normal stuff. If you were lucky. Bum, bum, bum. Scott baffled me a bit. They were lucky? How? I began to wonder if perhaps there had been more severe punishments, which is what you'd think you would lead with when somebody asked if they were fair in your discipline. Yeah, mostly, except when they murdered you. Yeah, all these people are characters out of like a Spanish soap opera. Could there have been some sort of more controversial form of discipline? I had to know. What exactly do you mean? For a brief moment, Scott gave a shudder. Turns out he's deeply emotionally scarred by this, even though he started out the conversation with, I don't really remember much. He seemed to recall something from his childhood that frightened him and seemed to have affected him as into adulthood as well. The kids who got into real trouble were sent to go into the gray door. Scott heaved a heavy sigh. I've never been in there myself. I knew a few kids that did. Ones that would get into fights or throw huge tantrums. They'd end up going into that room. I don't know what happened in there, but they always come out shaking with wide eyes. A few would break down crying. Some would scream. One kid even threw up before passing out.
Why don't you remember that? Why are they?
Why did this have to be like dug up by an investigative reporter?
Jesus Christ, they had to pull your fucking teeth out to get to like the thing we need to talk about.
Although, as a parent of a kid in daycare around this age, she's 4, not 5 or 6, but
you put your kid in a gray room?
No, kids cry and have wide eyes and scream and throw up and randomly pass out. That's just their normal fucking behavior. It is psychotic.
I would remember though, like.
Oh yeah, if there was some like weird door that the kids came out scarred for life.
Yeah, like you wouldn't like. We're not saying, hey, you remember Time Out? It's like, yeah, obviously. It's like, nobody else had like a fucking little dungeon room. Like, that wasn't a daycare thing. Why the fuck do I have to ask you an hour of questions to get to that?
Right. I frowned slightly. Only slightly, though. What sort of horrors had been conducted in a room that had been nicknamed the Grey Door? It's not even really a particularly scary nickname. It's just the color of the door. I then remembered what Margaret had said and decided to check and see if perhaps there was a connection with her story and what Scott had just said. Did the children have scratches or bites on them, I asked, and did you hear any strange noises? He nodded. A few kids had scratches on them after they left the Grey Door, but I thought they got those before, and I just didn't notice them at first. Until 30 years later, now that you're asking me. They could have tripped or something. I did hear some heavy breathing. That could have been just some kid panting from running a lot. Hard to say for sure.
Don't want to make a good story out of it.
Right. I don't know why all these characters have to like make these like statements and then qualify them. Yeah. First, Margaret said she thought she heard a dog snarling. Now Scott told me he heard heavy breathing. With strange noises, mysterious scratches on misbehaving children, and the mysterious of the Grey Door, I couldn't help but wonder what it was that Happy Sun Daycare had been hiding all those years. I had thanked Scott for taking the time to speak to me before moving on to the next person to interview. With my curiosity regarding the Grey Door still heightened, I figured... Well, heightened from 0 because you didn't know about it prior to...
you finally got a goddamn breadcrumb.
I figured the next person to speak to would be the man who painted doors in the daycare. Oh. The more troublemaking attendees of the daycare. I had to know more about what went on inside that room, and perhaps one of them could tell me. After doing more background checks... What kind of background checks tell you what kids were trouble in... daycare? Like,
yeah, any serial killer babies?
I managed to track down a young woman whom we'll refer to as Alice. No, I will not. I'm going to call her by her real name, which is Bonnie. She had been arrested 2 weeks ago for spraying graffiti and was charged for vandalism. Real bad scene.
What a troubled fucking problem.
Rather than spend time in jail, she agreed to go into the to do 4 months of community service. From what I read about her records, it seemed this wasn't her first time she had gotten in trouble with the law. I don't really consider caught with vandalism. Like, yeah, it's wrong and it's illegal, but it's not really trouble with the law. It's like, hey, stop fucking doing that. Yeah. Here's a citation and clean it up. Were you always this much trouble, Alice? I asked her. Alice shrugged.
Is that why they put you in the fucking Grey Room?
Grey Door. Who told you?
Were you finger painting on walls?
Alice shrugged. Maybe. I wasn't sure how easy it would be to get the answers I wanted from her. Because this is a very random interview and you're asking inane questions. It'll probably be difficult, buddy.
Are you always a pain in the ass? Like if a stranger just started an interview with a...
Right. Like I'm picturing tomorrow some random person walks into my office. Are you Steve Gibson? And you'd be like, yeah, assuming they're looking for you to, do business. And then they're like, were you a troublemaker in daycare? I don't know how I would answer that.
It's almost fighting where it's like, are you Ben Matlock? Yeah. Were you always a punk bitch? It's like, fuck, I guess so.
I don't know. I'm so tired at work anymore. I'd be like, yeah, probably. I don't know.
They said I was.
I wasn't sure how easy it would be to get answers I wanted from her. She seemed like the type who would only cooperate if either she would get some sort of advantage or if it meant less time behind bars. Look, kid, I need to know about Happy Sun Daycare, I pointed out to her. Do you remember anything about the gray door?
Listen here, see? I need the scoop now, see?
I know, I'm going to start doing just stupid voices. I need to get me through this. So I'll probably be reading these in the tones that I'm imagining this character taking.
A bad egg, see?
For a brief second, a hint of fear flashed in her eyes. Her face became pale as a few beads of sweat trickled down her forehead. That was a long time ago, she pointed out. Although that's a very normal answer, regardless.
Yeah,
I replied, surely you must remember something. Records show that you were 10 when you attended. Are you sure you can't recall anything, Tinny? Alice took a few deep breaths and began to regain her composure. If the mere mention of the gray door room was enough to put fear into her after all those years, I couldn't help but dread what horrors she could possibly have experienced. Here was someone who had run-ins with the law, someone who had been arrested for various crimes, primarily theft, vandalism, and trespassing, so the minor ones, and yet it was something from her childhood that caused the most fear of being punished. Why? Because, again, the punishments for theft, vandalism, and trespassing aren't particularly severe, I'm guessing. Okay.
That was a delay, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I want to point out I'm a good kid. I was a good kid in daycare. I'm a good kid as an adult. I don't do those things.
Never got caught for any of those things you did.
That's the key word there is the caught part. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you, but you gotta promise never to say that I told you anything. Got it? Alice sighed. I could not read that as a sigh.
Fucking quick.
Yeah, I know, they all do. It's pretty convenient for this reporter who's now thinking that they're the greatest reporter of all time.
You gotta tell me something. Okay, I'll talk.
Yeah, especially since they led, I was starting to sense this person would only talk if they got something out of it.
I had jumper cables with her name written. Okay, I'll talk.
Well, that's the thing is they're only going to talk if they get something out of it. So my next line is going to be not offering them anything out of it. It's just going to be to bluntly question it.
I knew I was going to have to haggle.
And then I don't haggle, and they fold like a fucking house of cards.
Give me all you got.
Okay, if you're going to raise your voice at me, sheesh.
It's like a fucking Witcher dialogue. It's like, I mean, Witcher's incredibly written, but there's a lot of times where it's like, do this for me. No. All right, you play hardball. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it is a video game at the end of the day, and I do remember bits of that. I reassured you, I won't use any real names. That will be strictly confidential. You see, I was playing outside in the playground, she began to explain. I remember wanting to play on the swings. Another kid claimed he had already gotten first dibs to play on them. Fucking kids, it's typical. Before I knew it, we were in a big argument. I lost control. Next thing I knew, he was on the ground crying. I must have pushed him when we were arguing. That's a great sign, blackout rage when you're 10. Over a swing. But that's why her life tumbled into a state of chaos to where she's now at the point where she's stealing and spray painting stuff. You know, it's a long downward spiral. Anyway, One of the teachers came up and grabbed me by the arm and dragged me inside. She told me that I would be taken into what the other kids called the gray door room as punishment. What was inside the room? I asked in anticipation. Alice took another deep breath and let out a shudder and a sigh. The room was mostly empty. I remember the floor was nothing but a dirt ground, and the only light was a dingy old bulb that barely lit anything up.
And everything was edible.
Yeah, this is actually the prequel to Wonka. The teacher just shoved me in and slammed the door shut. At first, I tried pounding on the door and screaming. I cried out for anyone to let me out. It was so dark and cold, I was scared. You just said there was a light bulb. It couldn't have been that dark. And I heard something. Something was behind me. I turned around and I remember screaming louder than I have ever screamed in my life. I frowned in concern. What did you see? It was a dog, or at least I think it was a dog. Well, then I call bullshit, because every fucking kid I know when they see a dog doesn't scream. They're like, hey, a dog.
Hey, it's Mr. Muffin.
Now, if the dog starts acting aggressive, they might immediately switch back to the fear, but anyway. She choked back tears. It was a dog, or at least I think it was a dog. I didn't get a good look at it since it was so dark. All I remember that it was the biggest and ugliest dog I had ever seen. That's not fair. Fido's doing his best. It's dark. He can't see to groom himself. The thing had glowing yellow eyes, huge sharp teeth, and it was covered in black shaggy fur. And before I knew it, it snarled and lunged at me. I ran as fast as... How big was this fucking room? I ran as fast as I could for 3 steps and slammed into a wall. That's the size of a standard room in a building. Screaming...
When I woke up, the dog was eating my hair.
Screaming and begging for anyone to come and save me. It grabbed onto my skirt with its teeth. Oh man, that's a problematic dog.
Yeah.
It's the copper toad.
Fuck, we gotta cancel the gray door room.
Yeah. Tried to pull me towards it. I tripped and fell, but I managed to kick it in the face a couple times, which famously calms dogs down.
Yes.
Then it lunged at me again, but luckily for me, the door finally opened and one of the teachers pulled me out of the room and slammed the door shut before the dog could get me again. So there was a dog after all. Eureka. The stories were all starting to come together.
Is it? I feel like the more defined this is, the more questions I have.
Me too. Margaret's story about hearing screams and growling, Scott's story about her horrified kids who had been sent to the gray door room, and now there was Alice's story about being sent to a room and being attacked by some sort of large, vicious dog with glowing eyes. Still, I had to know more. Why did they use a dog? Why did they cover it up? Well, that second question is easy, because that's illegal as fuck. Perhaps the people working at Happy Sun Daycare were afraid that such a punishment would be too extreme to use on children. Yes, perhaps. That would cross somebody's mind at some point. Or maybe they feared being sued by some animal rights group. Or maybe the parents? I don't know. That would be my concern. Like, well, look, we have no choice but to punish kids by throwing them into a room with a vicious dog and letting the kids kick it. PETA might be all over our ass, though, if this gets out, so keep it quiet. I then thanked Alice for her time and set forth to find the next person to talk to. Maybe the dog. Maybe another one of the employees. If I was lucky, I might be able to get one of them to reveal the truth about what was going on in his gray door room. You've been very lucky so far, because everybody has just opened right the fuck up.
Looking at a staff directory, we found the puppy scratcher. Maybe he would know.
Once again, I began searching through the records of anyone who had ever worked at Happy Sun Daycare. It took me some time to find someone who was willing to talk to me. Most former employees I asked were either too busy or simply didn't want to give an interview. A few of them said various profanities as well. I couldn't tell if they were angry that I had learned about what was going on all those years ago, or if they were afraid of what might happen if they revealed any more secrets to me. They're probably angry that you're calling them at their home and being like, did you work at a daycare years ago? I'm doing a story about a gray door. Be like, stop fucking calling me, kid. Still, I managed to track down at least one person who was willing to tell me his experiences working at Happy Sun Daycare. Mr. Smith, we'll call him. Worked as a janitor at the daycare back when it was still running. Well, no shit. He didn't work as a janitor after it had closed. He had managed to get a job only because his aunt was in charge of the head of the offices there as well. Of one of the offices there as well. However, Mr. Smith had moved... Oh, that's great. You just did that thing where they're like, we'll keep you anonymous. And then in the story we say he was related to this person that would be very easy to look up that worked there. He moved to another town since the daycare closed years ago. This meant I couldn't interview him in person, so we sent each other email instead. It's probably a solid plan.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mr. Smith explained that he had some form of narcolepsy since he was a teenager, and a history of sleepwalking as well. That's a weird thing.
This series of interviews is developing that for me as well.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Smith. I see you were a janitor. Yes, I had narcolepsy as a teenager, and sleepwalking was not what I asked, but I guess I'll jot that in my notes.
Yeah. One man who requested to remain anonymous with these very specific conditions.
Identifying factors that I'm going to include that have nothing to do with the story, but yeah. I'm sure it actually does have something to do with the story. Let's find out. Doctors couldn't figure out what was causing his condition, but they couldn't find any other adverse health effects linked to it either. This still made it difficult for him to find work. He told me he was grateful that his aunt managed to get him a job at Happy Sun Daycare. I had so many questions, and well, I wasn't sure which one to ask first. After I got his first response, I wrote back to him. I wanted to know how he was able to hold his job despite his condition. That seems a little, It's like, I have a condition. How the fuck did you have a job? Even though he literally just explained it's because he's working for his aunt. And she was aware of it.
That's also kind of a shithead. Like,
yeah.
How the fuck you work?
Well, right. Yeah.
Useless idiot.
Was he on medication for it? How did the other employees and the children treat him? This is a weird line of questioning that seems to not have much to do with a gray door and a lot to do with your fascination on somebody with a disability. A couple of days passed before I got any response from him. I quickly opened the last email response from Mr. Smith and began to read. He replied that his aunt would mix him a special herbal tea for him that would help keep his narcolepsy in check. She apparently strongly believed in herbal medicine, and that it was better than any standard medicine on the market. Mr. Smith wrote about how the tea was quite bitter and how he hated drinking it, but he had to drink it if he wanted to keep his job, though on occasion his aunt would run out of the leaves needed for the tea and he'd end up falling asleep. So it's cocaine. It's the cocoa plant, cacao plant. This prompted another employee to go make sure he didn't accidentally hurt himself or others. The alleged dog that attacked various children at Happy Sun Daycare. What? That's rather... Oh, okay, sorry. I copied and pasted. It apparently there was an image and it took a caption for it. I'm like, what the fuck is this line? That's me, folks. That's not the story. Anyway, back to the story. As for how others treated him, Mr. Smith explained in his letter that the children were generally very nice to him. Most of them were quite curious and would ask him a lot of questions while he worked. A few would generally act as a nuisance, no shit, they're kids, but he didn't recall any of them being too much trouble. On the other hand, the other employees seemed to have a sense of uneasiness around him. He explained how he felt that they seemed extremely cautious around him. He just said that. Also, he pointed out that his aunt always kept a close eye on him. He wasn't sure if this was due to his condition or some other reason, though. That just caused more questions to form in my mind. Like, are people like racist against narcolepsy? Maybe. People are pretty shitty, but why were the other employees uneasy around him? Was it because he was the nephew of one of the higher-ups? Or was there another reason? And there was a matter of his aunt keeping a close eye on him. Maybe they were trying to keep the whole issue regarding the Grey Door room a secret from him. Perhaps they were afraid he would find out about the dog and would contact the police. I had to know if he knew anything about the room. I quickly wrote a reply and asked if he knew anything about the room. Some sort of large dog. And a lot of like saying one thing and then immediately like just phrasing it slightly different and repeating it.
Yeah.
I had to know about the room, so I quickly asked him about the room. You can leave one of those two out.
And he said, what about the room?
Yeah. Another couple days passed before I got another response from Mr. Smith. I opened the reply and began to read. He said that he didn't remember any sort of dog at the daycare. In fact, he pointed out that animals weren't allowed on the property and that he would set traps to keep squirrels and mice out. His aunt was very strict about no pets being allowed there as well, most likely due to any potential allergies kids might have. Also, basically, 0 schools ever allow pets, like, at the schools. So it's just not really a thing that happens. Yeah. Mr. Smith explained in his reply that perhaps the dog that Alice claimed had attacked her was just someone in a cheap-looking dog costume. I love how quickly everybody just offers up these super flimsy alternatives.
Yeah, those are, like, more fucking crazy theories than the story itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rational explanation for this, all right? My friend Daryl dresses up in a dog suit all the time and attacks people.
And you can't even hardly tell it's a person. You could very easily
I swear
mistake
to God,
him.
when he bites you, you would swear it's the real thing.
Even though it specifically says a cheap-looking dog costume. So not like perhaps somebody had a fancy costume. And that the scratches and bites were just a result of tripping and accidentally scratching themselves on some dirt. You know, the notoriously scratchy dirt. To my surprise, he had been in the gray room himself several times as well. Strangely,
he fucking loved it.
Yeah. Strangely, well, it's weird because if your job's a janitor and they basically make you mop, it'd be a little weird. They're like, okay, go mop this dirt floor room. You'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He pointed out that they were always, when he hadn't any tea to drink, that he would wake up in the room. He wasn't sure if anybody had simply moved him there so he could sleep without being in anybody's way, or if he had been sleepwalking again and just stumbled in there by mistake. Mr. Smith explained that the room was originally going to be a large storage closet for various arts and crafts related supplies, but it was never finished due to budget cuts. He wrote in his reply that his aunt didn't want the area to go to waste, so they decided to use it as a means to punish misbehaving children. Well, if we have a solitary confinement cell, we might as well use a solitary confinement cell. It'll
go bad if we don't use it.
I mean, we can't possibly put boxes in here. We might as well torture children. In his opinion, somebody probably bought a dog costume and would wear it while terrorizing any children sent in a room as a means of instilling fear of punishment into their minds. Makes sense. I sent one last email to Mr. Smith thanking him for taking the time to reply to my message. The whole thing about Happy Sun Daycare was starting to piece together. Was it?
Is it? I don't.
From what I gathered at the various interviews from both students and employees, children who misbehaved were sent to a large empty space called the Grey Room. You didn't piece that together. Somebody literally told you. 3 people told you that. That there was a dog or possibly just somebody in a dog costume that would chase any child in there. Well, again, you didn't narrow that down, and that's an important step. And finally, that said child would be pulled to safety before the dog could cause any serious harm.
That's right.
Except for apparently lifelong, PTSD, because both of the kids you talked to, went pale and started shaking the second you mentioned it. But no serious physical harm. Who cares if you fuck them up mentally? There was only one thing left to do. Find another job, because I suck at this.
This story is going to ruin me.
I was going to head inside Happy Sun Daycare and investigate the infamous gray door room for myself. I had to see it for myself if there was anything that could solve the strange cover-up. Several minutes passed as I drove into the countryside and towards the abandoned building. I parked the car in front of the driveway and took a few deep breaths. The front door was unlocked, which was lucky for me. Yes. Would you have like driven out there and the door's locked? You're like, fuck. I guess I gotta go home.
Guess I gotta interview 5 more fucking people to hear about how locks work.
I gently pushed the door open and began to look inside. The interior was dingy and covered in a layer of dust. Cobwebs spread over various desks and chairs that hadn't been used in quite some time. A musty smell filled the house, and mixed with the odor of feces and urine from the rats that now made this place their home. It was nauseating, to say the least. After I explored several different areas, I soon found the foreboding gray door that was said to lead to the dreaded room. The door was quite heavy, and it took me several tries before I managed to force it open. Just like how Alice had described, the room was dark and empty, with a dirt floor and a dingy bulb. Said bulb had burned out long ago, so I used an old desk to prop the door open in order to see anything. Flashlight would have been handy, and knowing you're investigating an abandoned building.
We're going to illuminate this with the truth.
I could see faint bloodstains on the ground and on the wall, but I couldn't tell who or what the blood belonged to. There were also strange markings on the wall. I took a closer look and could have sworn they resembled claw marks of some sort. As I continued to examine the room, I noticed various footprints in the dirt. Many were faded or had been trampled over one another. But I could still make out a few. Most were the footprints of children. They looked like the children had been running away from something. There was one other distinct set of footprints that caught my attention. I examined them closely. I could definitely make out the distinctive foot pads, claws, and individual toes on at least one of the prints. This wasn't some person in a cheap costume, but it was possibly a person in an expensive
very good costume.
Right, because I'm very bad at narrowing anything down. Happy Sun Daycare had been using a dog to terrorize children. I had to let the people know. Even though this place has been gone and off the map and nobody has thought about it.
Everybody in the town like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I had to let the people know what they'd been hiding all these years. However, as I made my way out of the daycare into my car, there was one aspect about those footprints that made me uneasy. Since when do dogs walk on 2 legs? The end. Thank God. I don't know that pacing and I don't. Okay, I'm curious. Do you understand what that kind of twist, what they were going for there was?
Well, so like I kind of tuned out because fuck, that took a long time to get from A to B. But they saw fucking dog prints in the dirt room, right? That's what they're saying? How the fuck could you tell if it was 4 or 2?
Right.
I'm assuming the dog just probably walked in a fucking circle in there.
Well, the only reason I could suss this out was because of the title of the embedded image that plopped through, which said Happy Sun Daycare Werewolf. They were trying to get at that this janitor wasn't narcolepsy. He was turning into a werewolf.
Oh, okay.
So they put him in the room, but then decided... So it's even more hilarious because at this point we have this strong room in the middle of the school to throw my werewolf nephew in when he turns. But since he's turned, we might as well punish some children. like what the fuck is that?
That's pretty bad shit. You know what? Right. I'm cool with that premise now that I kind of understand it.
Well, that's the problem is they spent very little time on the premise and a whole lot of time on everything else.
I don't want to shit on it too hard, but like I said, I tuned out pretty hard by like the last 10 minutes. There was like, how much fucking interviewing are you gonna
with
do
no
to, like,
plausible reason for them to have any sort of line of questioning in the first place.
That's the thing. Like, it was like, was there ever like missing children? Did it say that?
No.
So it was just like,
or even rumors that like, because that's literally all you'd have to do is sprinkle in at the beginning somewhere like, oh, I decided to investigate this daycare, you know, from growing up in the area and hearing just murmurs of possible strangeness. Like, you know, you need to have some reason for them to have started this investigation into this daycare. But the way it was set up was literally, there's an old daycare. Yeah, there's an old daycare. Yeah. I better look into this.
Yeah.
And
which I mean, like, you can do it. You can set it up that way, but you need to like hit like a point of intrigue.
Yeah,
fast.
like,
and I feel like that point of intrigue is discovering the gray room or whatever, and it still felt like a really long time to get to that. And
this was. I clearly, when I said I forgot just how bad last week was at work. If it's not obvious yet, I didn't read this one through first, and not because like it's that bad. We've had bad stories before.
I mean, it is a creepypasta story.
Well,
like it is not too bad for the medium. It's just it. We've talked about it before with other stories. It really kind of hits my bingo list of like shit that frustrates me as a reader.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, and I mean, you know me, and it's probably just a shitty attention span, but I like stories to be really crisp and not have any like real fat or fluff on them.
And this one managed to like trifold the fluff, because it would be, I asked an innately innocuous question. The person initially said no, and then immediately on their own accord said, well, except for this major twist.
Yeah.
And then not only that, it's like, okay, well, that was an implausible jump. But then every single fucking time there was some kind of twist or what was supposed to be a hint at what was to come, then they would spend like a paragraph or two coming up with just these like flimsy, well, but it could have been the wind or branches, or maybe they tripped. And it's like, you don't need to qualify.
Like, you don't undercut your own like horror plot, you know?
Right.
Like, it's okay if like you have occasional skeptical characters or moments of skepticism.
Well, yeah, and it would have made way more sense for that to be the interviewer too. Like, are you sure they were bites and they couldn't have been something else? Instead of
by the end of the story, they spent so much time like almost convincing me that nothing that interesting could be happening there.
Right.
That like you had to tell me the fucking twist. You know, like I couldn't connect those dots because in my head, it literally was just a room with a dog in it by the end, you know?
I think what it was is they were struggling. Well, I maybe not. What it perhaps was, that's a better way to word this, is that with the premise, and at the end of the day, like a lot of these stories, when you break it down into its most basic, the premise of a daycare where one of the higher ups has a that the family member's trying to help out, that they don't want them to get discovered, but they're trying to. The kids' punishment thing was like very flimsy.
So the thing I would go ahead and finish your point.
I was just gonna say the basic premise I don't hate, but now I've kind of lost where, not because of I forget where I was going with that. The basic premise is okay, but it just doesn't. It felt like they were struggling with this idea where you have such a major thing as, oh yeah, there was a werewolf at our school, but trying to also make it believable that the kids in the midterm completely forgot about it.
Yeah.
Because that is an implausible scenario. You do need to sit there and maybe workshop this in your head a bit to make that work.
The more I think about it now, the more I like the idea, and the more I think like this chunk of story, I stand by it should have been really trimmed down, but this is like the setup for an actual story where, you have like a reporter or something kind of, trying to find a fucking diamond in the rough story. and then stumbles upon like a fucked up family like business of like corruption and a goddamn monster.
Yeah, and it's a hell of a launching pad for that, because something happened then at some point, obviously, to close down the daycare. And this janitor's still alive, and you just figured out he's a werewolf. So what's been going on now that he doesn't have the safety net of the...
what the fuck is like the family... Why was the family fucking so psychotic and like cool with all this going down under their watch? Like, the story ends where I feel like it kind of should start.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's your fucking story. That's what the reporter should be deep diving into. You know, and it feels like we spend a lot of time just to like establish, you know, the parts of the daycare that I feel like you could have really like trimmed down, which is like, you know, you could have gotten the gray room and the fact that there was like a monster in it established pretty quick. You could have gone right to like the troubled kid interview.
Yeah.
If we're being honest.
Well, and that's where I was starting to get at, and I distracted myself when I said, you can tell I didn't vet this, not necessarily based on quality, because I'll read stories that, you know, that's the point. I don't want to read like Hemingway every time. But where you can tell if you
wrote some shit too.
Oh yeah, it is true.
You want to talk about padding? God damn.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I like some Hemingway, but that was his stick, his padding. Anyway, where you could tell if you know me at all is because the pasted notes, because I tend to copy and paste it into a document instead of reading it off the webpage because it's easier. It's 8 fucking pages long. I generally don't go above 3 or 4. So... That's where you can tell I didn't vet it, but it didn't need to be 8 pages. We didn't get to the gray room until page 4, so literally halfway through. Yeah. That's way too long into a story to get to that. I don't know what the point of intrigue, as you called it. It's a great term. There's probably an actual literary term there. Yeah. That's way too long. That needs to come very, very soon in the beginning. Not necessarily first paragraph or first 2 paragraphs, but.
Yeah, and I really think, like, regardless, like, however you want to pace the story, because some of it's just my own personal taste. I'm not saying this is how you write. I'm saying this is how you keep my personal attention, because
that is the very
it's
problem.
Football season, and I'm easily distracted.
That is the very problem with putting that point of interest in the middle, is then that makes anything that happens before it is not important.
Yeah, but I think you can make that the point of interest and put it in that part of the story, but they also, you need to raise the stakes.
Yeah.
You know, because nothing was such a threat to those kids or established as such a threat through the writing to make you think it was more than just a normal dog.
That's what's funny, because even at this point, I mean, sure, if you've somehow... they didn't conclusively, during the course of the story, prove that there was a dog being used to torture kids. Because just because you saw dog footprints and kids said, yeah, I think maybe I saw a dog, it was kind of scary. That's a very flimsy thing to be like, the world needs to hear this story, the truth needs to be told. But even that's being said, the biggest danger that you ever created was that some kids got some scratches.
Yeah. Yeah, but, you know, it's like, I don't really... Yeah, there was no, like, part of the story, like, I was, like... single part of it where I was, like, getting frustrated. It was just the overall, like... Man, it took a long time. Mm-hmm. And part of that is just, like... You know, there were no beats to, like, keep your attention, really. It felt like... I really felt for the interviewer. Yeah. During points of it, because they would be asking questions and the other characters would, you know, just be dragging it out. And it's like, maybe that was the point. Maybe you're supposed to be like, God damn it.
Yeah, but like I said, the biggest problem I have there is that there was nothing ever established for why this reporter was even pursuing any line of questioning whatsoever.
Unless they had a fucking podcast like ours.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Welcome to the Derilict Daycare podcast.
Oh, that's a fucking remote shithole show.
The only podcast online where we dig into the history between random derelict daycares, hoping to find something about werewolves.
You know what? You have had shows that are equivalent of that, where it's like you've brought topics on where it's like, it could have been this, it could have been this, probably nothing.
Hey, I mean, that's what the whole show, like Unsolved Mysteries, is. It's right in the title.
Yeah.
But,
all right.
Anyway, that was a long one because it was a long story, and I couldn't stop, like, interrupting myself.
There was a lot of humor in it, to be fair. There's a lot of fun to be had. Again, we're not doing this to shit on the writing.
And like I say, at the heart of this, I think there's a really cool, relatively original idea.
Most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, we're pretty complimentary towards at least parts of what we're reading as far as like the core ideas. We don't expect this shit to be, the most polished stuff on the planet. These are writing exercises, and in that vein, it's fun to goof about them.
Yeah, and also, that said, there's like a non-zero % chance that before the show even airs, I will like turn the TV on and there'll be a trailer for Guillermo del Toro's Happy Sun Daycare. And you're like, son of a bitch, just got adapted into a movie.
Yeah. So all that like qualifier and apology, if you're a millionaire, fuck you. I'm bitter and jealous, and I'm glad I trashed it.
So anyway. Yeah, hope you found some enjoyment to this week. I found very little joy.
I haven't felt
in
joy
anything
in a long, long time.
Basically, since I gave up drinking. Don't do that, kids. Stay on the wagon.
Yeah. Don't give up on the wagon. It'll take you where you want to go. Wait, is it off the wagon?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Falling off the wagon is tricky.
Yeah, get the fuck off that wagon.
Yeah.
Fucking,
yeah, what are you doing?
Walk, you lazy asshole.
Stumble, whatever, crawl.
Stumble, yeah.
Depends what point on the night.
That's a perfectly good ditch to sleep in. And you're sitting up there on a wagon.
Fuck you. Who do you think you are? Anyway, we'll be back. Probably next week, maybe. I don't know.
At the rate we're going.